Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. This is going to be a first out of many, as I want to make a few different videos on some obscure sound design techniques. The reason for that is I'm going to go away back home for Christmas, so obviously then I don't have the time or ability to record videos. So I wanted to create a few smaller videos that I can already schedule, so you guys at least have something to watch. That means that I'm not going to go super in depth on each of the techniques here, but I'm just going to spend some time explaining the general concept, and then I might show you how to make it into a lead or something like that. But I would like to leave it up to your imagination as well for a lot of these techniques, to actually try to encourage you to use these techniques in sound design yourself and experiment with them in sound design yourself. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is windowing. Now you might have seen that I've already created some shorts on windowing, but I wanted to do a little bit of a longer format video to actually explain what's going on here. So let's dive right into it. So here we have the most basic of windowed setups. As you can see, what we're essentially achieving is that we have this wavetable here, which is being cut off at some points in time. And this cutoff point depends on the lower group down here. You can see that we're using two wavetables here. We have this first one, which is just a standard window, which comes from the modulators part here. This is just from the factory pack. And then we have this full volume positive wavetable here, which is a wavetable that I made. And the whole goal of this secondary wavetable is to offset this wavetable up here. You can see this one goes both negative and positive, and then negative again. And this one just makes it so that it goes only positive. You can see how that's happening here. Finally, once we have those two mixed, what we're doing is we're taking the mix and we're using it to modulate the level. So that's going to set the area where we select the different wavetables. As you can see, if I mess with the phase, it moves around where we're actually selecting from the wavetable. You can see that happening here. You can set the size here to make it more open and close. Now what this technique does is it results in very gritty, very clicky sounds, because we're obviously taking away part of the waveform here. You can kind of hear the clicks going on if I play it just like this. This is almost a standard wavetable. And once we get into a slower, smaller window size, you can hear the sound become smaller and it sounds thinner but also clickier, which is the result of this windowing that we're doing here. So what is actually going on is that this is so-called amplitude modulation. What we're doing is we're taking a waveform which is at the audio rate, in this case the actual same audio rate that the standard oscillator is playing at. These both have the same pitch. And what we're doing is we're using this wave here to modulate the volume of this wave here. So this is just assigned to the level here. What that actually does is it's going to modulate the volume of that particular sound here. That means that the graph that we're seeing here becomes very easy to read, because everything that is zero just goes down to zero. Any number times zero is going to become zero. So as a result, we have silence, right? That's why all of this part here results in silence right here. Can see that this actually lines up exactly. Now there's many different ways to set up something like windowing. Here we have a setup within Serum. As you can see, what we're doing here is we're taking this LFO to draw in our shape, and then we assign the LFO right here to the noise oscillator. That will load this shape into the noise oscillator, which is very useful for modulation. And we're actually using this noise oscillator to modulate the level here. You can see the noise oscillator is selected, that's doing the level. This one is set up 48 semitones, and then the oscillator itself is set down 1 octave. That makes it so that they match up in terms of being synchronized. As you can see, if I record this, we get 1 click for each of the windows. You can see the window having its effect here, and then just closing again, opening up here, and then closing again. And if we up the volume itself, you can actually verify that it's 1 click per window. So we can move this down below here. Now we get our normal saw wave, and we can see that for every click there's 1 window opening and closing. And obviously, depending on where you set this phase as well as this phase, you can align them in certain ways and have maybe the click inside, maybe you want it outside the window itself. Right now it's going to be outside because this is the starting point, and it's going to overlay this starting point right where the phase is, right here, because obviously those two play at the same time. So you can kind of overlay this window right on top of here, and you can see that this click, for example, is going to fall outside of it. And you can see we don't have a click from this one. Now obviously with saw waves and stuff like that, it's not really that fun to do. But what you can see is that if we go into very aggressive kind of sounds, maybe let's go with this one here, and we set everything up correctly. I'm going to set this right over here. You get some really cool tones out of it. Some very nice sounds. As you can see right here, we get a little bit of a clicky one. Maybe we want to go a little bit later with this phase here. Let's say that we put it right here. Let's see. And get a more clicky sound like that. And already if you want to turn this into some kind of lead, a cool way to do that is to mess with the phase that is being used, because obviously that's going to offset which part of the waveform you are actually selecting with the window that you've created. This is just coming from one of the tone packs, no other effects, no other modulations on that, and we're just windowing it with the noise oscillator here. The final thing that I want to show you is a little bit more of interest rather than something that is very practical. One of the things that you need to keep in mind with windowing is that it's not a binary selection. You're not selecting, oh, this part of the sound we're going to play and this part is going to be silent. There's going to be a little bit of a fade between them. And you can see that specifically if we're windowing a sine wave. Here you can see we have a sine wave selected in this wavetable here. This is the basic shapes from Serum, which I had to pull up real quick. And you can see if I'm opening and closing it, we basically get the same shape but becoming bigger and smaller. The reason for that has to do with the way that this amplitude kind of fades in and fades out. And the fun part of windowing is choosing the window type that you want to use. So you can create your own windows, which obviously we did in that Serum example, but also it is doable in audio. It is a little bit of a hassle to actually get that right, but having a bunch of different windows can be very, very interesting. Faceplant already comes with 3 different windows, and each of them are going to have a different effect and a different sound on the actual sound that you're creating. So this is a very open window. You can see that this allows you to basically select almost the whole waveform here, whereas these other ones, they don't allow you to do that. This one is very tight here, and this one is a little bit tighter still. You can see this one is very, very small and doesn't allow you to open up all the way. So playing around and experimenting around with the different windows that you use is really where this technique becomes very, very powerful. Also keep in mind you don't have to just modulate volumes, you can modulate anything else if you want to. But that's where I'm going to leave this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you like the concept of this series of me exploring different sound design techniques like this. If you do, let me know by leaving a like, and if you're new here and you want to see more of my videos, then subscribe. You can also turn on the bell notifications to get notified by YouTube. But that's going to be it. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.